share your name.
Linda Kropp. So my story deals with an issue in Oxnard where this was about 15 years ago, and a company called BHP Billiton, which was the largest mining company in the world, wanted to bring natural gas to the United States from overseas. And they proposed what's called a liquefied natural gas, or LNG, project. And this was back when we were told we had a dearth, we had a shortage of natural gas in our country. Now we're exporting it. But back then we were told we needed to bring in more natural gas, and it was cleaner than oil and coal. It was the bridge fuel to renewables. But it's a fossil fuel. And so BHP Billiton was looking for a location on the west coast of the United States. And out of the entire west coast, they picked Oxnard, thinking that this was a poor community, would not be able to stand up to the largest mining company in the world. And they proposed a floating terminal. And then they would bring this liquefied natural gas from Australia and Malaysia and Indonesia, and they would come up to this floating terminal, and they would unload the liquefied or compressed natural gas, and they would regasify it, and then they would send it to shore through pipelines to Oxnard. So we were hired. I work for the Environmental Defense Center, and we were hired by some local groups who were very concerned, and we took it on, and it was a typical David versus Goliath story. So we were able to analyze the impacts of this project to the marine environment, to safety, to air pollution. But one of the things that we looked at was the climate change impacts. And because BHP was saying, hey, it's better than oil and coal. It's really benign, and when you burn it, it's not that bad. So we hired a climate change expert who analyzed the greenhouse gas emissions over the whole life cycle. So extracting the gas in another country, putting it into a liquid form, which is very carbon intensive, shipping it across the oceans, regasifying it, bringing it to shore, people burning it. Turns out it was as bad for the climate as coal. Wow. And other institutions have done the same analysis and come to the same conclusion. So that became the focal point, and the community rallied around that and said, hey, this is bigger than just one project. This is affecting, or could affect, the climate, and natural gas is not clean, and it is a threat to our climate. And so we help educate everyone, and we work with the Sierra Club and other groups, and Cause, which is a social justice organization. And we had a big hearing in Oxnard, and we had 2,500 people, which was the biggest hearing they had ever had. Wow. And everyone was equipped with blue T-shirts with a big LNG with a red line through it. And we filled the room, and we had overflow. So we had about 800 people in the room, and then at the hearing was at the Oxnard Performing Arts Center, which has a bank of glass windows, and we had about 1,000 people out there in their blue shirts, and it made a difference. We didn't know if we were going to win or not. We're up against this powerful company that had been lobbying and spending a lot of money, and trying to court all the elected officials. They had the president's support, they had the governor's support, and I think it was the 2,500 people that showed up in blue shirts that made the difference. But it was because people understood what the threat to the climate was.
Right. My goodness. What an absolute pleasure to hear your story and to meet you, who was a part of that, because I recall reading it in the news.
Oh,
and that's why I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, time and age, and we go, oh, so many things. But I do recall that because I was so
amazing.
Proud of a community like Oxnard that has had a lot of negative light to it, and how it's really just rising up in a more people's stereotypes have shifted on Oxnard, and they were leading the way, and you were a part of that. So thank you so much.
And I think more recently, they defeated the Puente power plant.
Yes, they did.
And I think it was the fact that people had the confidence from before, and they knew we can come together as a community again. So it was great.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing.
We have all received a gift, an expected or anticipated gift for a birthday, anniversary, retirement. Each time we receive that gift, whether it meets our expectation, we feel something. Happy, sad, disappointed. The gifts that are unexpected, unconditional, small or large, have the potential of changing the trajectory of a life. Someone pays for your groceries when you're out of money, leaves you a big tip just when you think you can't afford your rent. Those are the gifts that ease our fears, make us grateful, and want to help others. This is a space where we share how those gifts, big or small, make a difference and change our lives. Welcome to the Starfish Connection.